Please welcome to the stage Figma's Chief Design Officer, Loredana.
Welcome to Schema, and thank you so much for waiting with us while we got everyone in through the grueling SF traffic. I'm Loredana, Figma's Chief Design Officer, and show of hands, how many of you are new to Schema this year? Wow, quite a few, and so am I. I joined Figma a few weeks ago after nearly a decade leading messaging and AI at Meta because I believe design is entering its most empowered stage yet. And we'll get into that in a moment, but first, Schema started 4 years ago with a simple idea: bring design systems people together to share knowledge and expand the craft. And that very much remains our goal today. But the world around us, well, that definitely has changed. It's a dizzying time to be a designer. Every day brings about a new model, a new buzzword, a new tool, and we're expected to absorb it all, ship faster, learn faster, redesign the whole app before lunch. And the problem is that the hype often, too often, outruns the craft, leaving all of us wondering, can this really be the future of design? And I believe that it can be, but only if we step in and shape it ourselves. We're in a moment of immense promise, where with just a few prompts, you could design and build the app of your dreams. This is mine. I built this AI outfit generator in Figma Make. It's inspired by Clueless in just a few days, and I am no coder. And this is why I joined Figma, because I saw an opportunity, and as a craftsperson, a responsibility to elevate design as the most important step between idea and finished product. And I joined Figma because as a company, we see AI a bit differently. Not as an assembly line for pixels, but as a tool that makes you creative, that speeds you up without taking over, a multiplier that puts you in control. And you could see this in everything we build, from Figma Make to simple things like removing backgrounds and renaming layers. And so, before we get into the wonderful world of tokens and variables today, I have an ask. Designers don't just adapt to this moment, shape it. Push your tools to not only automate your possibilities, but expand them. Because when we do, we will enter design's most empowered stage yet, where more builders can, yes, ship faster, that's good too, but most importantly, imagine more. Because let's face it, there is nothing more human than the drive to create, and nothing more powerful than the tools we build to unlock it. And with that, I would love to welcome VP of Product Paige Costello to the stage to talk to you about the unsung hero behind the world's best product experiences. Yes, the design system. Paige, come on over.
What's up, Schema? Hello, welcome. My name is Paige Costello. I'm responsible for Figma design. And before I joined Schema and Figma, I was responsible for scaling design systems at Asana. I led their core product and their AI. I also saw the impact of design systems at Intercom and Intuit. And now I'm responsible for evolving the very foundations of design systems infrastructure here. What I've learned is simple. Design systems form the very backbone of the world's best products. They create coherence, consistency, and clarity for the teams who build. Design systems don't choose between craft and scale. They build for both. No matter how many teams, how many products, how many platforms you're supporting. Now, many of you manage hundreds of libraries across organizations and products. You're juggling significant complexity. we've seen variant sets as large as 17,000 variants, and libraries with 1 million layers. Go you. You're shipping the components. You're updating the documentation. You're doing the bug bashes. You're designing and redesigning those contribution models. You're answering the questions on Slack, hosting the office hours, and yeah, pulling some late nights when you need to. But in this moment, they're becoming something more. Today, design systems form that shared language between engineering and design that brings production into focus. But tomorrow, they're going to power an entirely new way to create. With AI, our workflows are changing. Suddenly, so many more people can build. And as this happens, our design systems gain more leverage and reach more people than ever before. It changes their role. So when your system lives in Figma, it's connected to your repo, and it's interpreted by MCP. It stops being a static library, and it starts to become a living system for how your product looks, feels, and moves. That's why it's a priority for us to pull together all the context that floats across your code, your documentation, and Figma to make sure that the context your teams need to build is at their fingertips and that they can get so much more from AI. Our goal is clear. Design systems must raise quality as more people join the building fray. The future of design systems is not about efficiency. It's about building great products that are high craft a lot faster. I want to share 3 ways we're evolving design systems to meet this moment. First, design systems need to be adaptable. They need to keep up and sprint ahead of the way your teams explore ideas. They need code-based context so that design and engineering can finally move as one. And they need to be built for the whole team, for everyone shaping products, the PMs, the researchers, built right into the tools they're already using. Many of the demos you're going to see today are shipping this week, the rest this month. But we also heard from you that a little heads up goes a long way, so we're going to be giving you insight into what's coming into early access as well. What you're going to see here isn't everything we're working on. Some of it's not ready for the main stage, but we want you to see the pace and direction. We hope you feel it too. Let's start with a look under the hood. Please welcome engineers Naomi Jung and Edward Im to the stage.
Hello, Schema! How's everyone doing this morning? I'm Naomi, and I'm a software engineer working on our design editor.
And I'm Edward. I'm also an engineer working on design systems. We are both so excited to be here today.
So I started at Figma in 2019, and for the majority of the last 6 years, I've been working on design systems features and performance. And we've really come a long way since I first started. In 2019, we had components, but we didn't have variants, component properties, variables. Heck, we didn't even have auto layout. It's really been an honor to be behind the scenes for many of these launches, and it's been really cool to see how both Figma and design systems have evolved over the past few years. I mean, who here remembers when the instant swap picker looked like this?
We sure have come a long way. But as design systems have progressed, our architecture has often struggled to keep up. Much of what we built optimized for the constraints we faced back then, not for the challenges of today. And this manifested itself in many different ways, like slow performance, bugs, and even slower development cycles on our end. We knew that in order to continue evolving, we had to address this.
And so our team began an initiative that we called the Design Systems Remodel, a huge rewrite of some of our core design systems architecture. Over the last year, we've rebuilt the foundations behind components, variables, and shared assets, and I'm super proud to be standing here to tell you a bit about it today. In practice, our remodel came down to 3 core things. First, making the editor more responsive by implementing smarter caching logic to improve performance even in the biggest, most complex files. Second, making sure components, variables, and styles all behave consistently and share underlying architecture and code wherever possible. And third, we wanted to give teams across the Figma ecosystem a unified platform to build connected, dynamic features similar to the ones that power design systems.
It's one of the biggest refactors in Figma's history, and we're already starting to see results in how design systems perform today. Basic editing into the design editor, such as this mode switch behind me, is up to 60% faster. In prototyping, interactions like this state switch is up to 3 times faster now. And finally, we've completely reworked asset publishing so that it takes seconds instead of minutes, with fewer failed publishes as well. We hope that you're feeling the difference when you do your daily work in Figma, even in massive design systems files.
But ultimately, this remodel wasn't just about fixing what was slow. It was about unlocking what comes next. In fact, the features we'll be announcing today could not have been built without this huge underlying effort. So with that, let's get to what you all are waiting for, the product updates. First up, let's talk about variables. We launched variables just over 2 years ago, and it was a huge milestone for design system management. I mean, can you imagine life without them? I certainly can't. But we know that managing large design systems with complex variable collections across multi-brand design systems has not been easy. And we've talked to many of you about these challenges and have seen a lot of workarounds. Some of you create maxed out collections with 40 modes, leading your modal to look like this. And this isn't just a pain in terms of UI. When you want to update a base value in these collections, you'll end up having to update hundreds or even thousands of values. And then your consumption experience looks like this, which is super confusing. So, as many of you may have guessed, after an extended timeline, today, extended collections is coming to variables. So let's dive into our demo. All right, so here I am in my design file. And today, we're working with a design system for a fictional video editing company called Astra. Here, we have a few different screens that show the different products that we have, which all have different brand colors. And all of our products support light and dark mode. So scrolling over here to the right, I have a few frames. And these frames, there's one for each of the products. But as you can see, we currently have all of the products using the Astra Video brand theme. So let's go ahead and change that. If I zoom in to Astra board here, I've actually already set up an extended collection for the green theme colors that we want to use. So I can click here. And all I need to do is go over here and change the collection from Astra Video to Astra board. And it's that simple. But what's great about this is I can also independently change the modes. So I can change from light to dark mode. Next, let's go down to Astra Audio. So for Astra Audio, I haven't created an extended collection for this yet, so let's go ahead and do that together. Like me, you might have some muscle memory of deselecting everything and then going over to the Properties panel to find the variable's entry point. But today, I want to call your attention to the new left nav, which is over here. Here, we have a few tools related to assets and AI, and now they're accessible with a single click. So if I open my variables modal, it'll now open in full screen by default. And we see here the Astra Video brand, or Astra Video collection. This is going to be the collection that we'll base our extended collections off of. Here we have a few variables that are specific to the Astra brand. But then down here, we have several variables that are meant to be shared across all of the brands. So to go ahead and create my extended collection, what I'll do is I'll go to the left panel, right-click on Astra Video, the base collection, and then Extend Collection. I'll rename it to Astra Audio. And my extended collection has been created. What you can see here is all of the variables, the modes, and their values have all been inherited from the base collection. The last part of my setup will be to add overrides. So the audio theme uses the orange colors, so I'll use some primitives for my library. Overrides for extended collections are going to work similarly to instance overrides. Anything that you override will be retained even if the underlying value ends up changing. So all of these orange values will persist when we change the video brand theme colors. But all of these other values, which do not have overrides, will be inherited. So if the base collection changes, we'll automatically get those updates. So now I can dock this modal and go back to the canvas and change the color of this frame from Astra Video to Astra Audio. And again, I can independently change the modes from light to dark. So now let's look at updating variables in action. So if I go back to my variables modal here, and I'll zoom out so that we can see all of the frames, let's see what happens when I change one of the colors, such as this color surface background, which is used in all of the frames. Edward, do you have a suggestion for what we might want to use here?
I'm a big fan of aqua.
All right, let's try aqua. Oops, I actually changed the extended collection, so that only updated here. Let me go ahead and change that back to white. Or sorry, let me actually extend this modal a bit and revert that override. So it's very easy to revert overrides as well. What I meant to do is change this to, I guess, aqua. I'll choose that for you, Edward. And there we see that all of the frames have automatically inherited that update because I'm changing the base collection here. I don't think our designer, Tom, will love that color, so let me go ahead and change it back. And again, it updates across all of the frames. Meanwhile, I can also change one of the inherited one of the brand colors. So if I go here, I can change perhaps this Blurple 600 to something a bit darker. And what we see is that just the Astra Video frame is getting updates, but the other frames are not getting updates because these frames have overridden that brand color. So again, I'll change that back. And great. That's extended collections in a nutshell, and we're really excited for how this will improve the design system management experience for multi-brand design systems. But I'm excited to say that for you design system managers out there, our updates don't stop there. So Edward, do you want to tell them about what else we've got cooking up?
Let's do it. Yeah. So part of the goal of extended collections was making it so brands like Astra Board and Astra Audio don't have to split off from the parent design system. And this next update also makes it even easier to stay connected to your source of truth. So let's dive in. You can see here I have a few things set up, which we'll go through real quickly. To the left, I have a few components set up. Here, I have a conversation component with a few chat bubbles. And below it, I have this chat pane component. To the right, I have this Astra Video mock that we were working with in the last section. And if I click into here, you can see that I've inserted an instance of the chat pane component. Now, this chat pane is looking a little empty. So one thing I might want to do is insert some chat bubbles into here. So I'll go ahead and make an instance of a component and drag it in.
I don't really think that's going to work. Don't you have to detach before you can insert it?
You're right, but I don't think my designer, Tom, would like it very much if I detached. Luckily, we don't have to, because today we're announcing slots for components. Slots are configurable regions within components that can then be freely edited by consumers of that component. They're sort of like React children properties, but for Figma components. So let's set one up here and see how it works. I'm going to go back to my main component and click into this chat area frame within it. From there, I'm going to right-click and click this new option, Convert to Slot. Cool. Now that that's a slot, I can add some configuration. So you can see there's a name already. I'll add a description, add chats here. And below that, there's also an interface for me to add preferred values. Now, preferred values are a way for component authors to suggest things that might work well in the slot. For me, I'll select the conversation component as a preferred value for this slot. I'll close that out and go back to my mock and click into the instance. You'll see now that the slot is highlighted in pink. And in the middle, there's this plus button, which I'll click on, which reveals an instance picker that allows me to easily insert those preferred values that I set up. So I'll go ahead and do that. I can also edit this slot freely. So say I wanted to add more chat bubbles to this. It's as easy as clicking in. I can Command D to duplicate. And I can even, and this is my favorite, click on the slot, drag this magic handle, and Command Enter to replace content with AI.
That's super awesome. Does it work with extended collections too?
That's a good question. Let's give it a try. So I'll zoom out so we can see everything. And I'll click on this frame. And I'll pick, let's say, audio. And you can see that everything in the slot respects both the collection and the mode that we select. Slots can be a lot more freeform as well. So to show that off, I'll zoom out a little bit, go into my new assets entry point in the left nav, and insert an instance of this Astra editor template that my designer Tom has set up for me. Now, many of you have used components like these before, and to use them, you typically have to detach to start editing. But Tom has set this up with a slot, so I can just take my content, which is a bunch of frames, and drag it in. I can also freely edit it once it's in here. So for example, say I wanted to change around the order of these cards. I can just click in and do that, all while staying connected to my main component. And that's it for the demo.
All right, can we give it up one more time for the teams behind slots and extended collections? So at Figma, we've already started using both extended collections and slots internally, and we've seen a huge simplification to our own multi-product design system. With extended collections, we've gone from over 32,000 unique values to just under 6,000. And with slots, we're reducing our component footprint and are excited about better results from Figma Make as slots map more cleanly to code. Extended collections is a really powerful feature, and we wanted to make sure we got all the details right. We know it took a minute, so we want to thank you for your patience as we work through all of these important details. And now, the wait is almost over. Extended collections will begin rolling out next month and will be available to everyone on our enterprise plan. And for slots, we are now opening early access signups. Slots will be available on all plans.
But wait, there's more. We're also excited to share some quality of life updates with you. So first, we're adding import and export to variables. Yeah. Next, we're also simplifying the variables authoring experience. You'll now see all of your subscribed collections directly in the authoring modal. You can now create new variables inline. And as Naomi showed off earlier, the authoring modal will now open full screen by default. In addition, the new left nav bar is going to roll out starting next week.
Yeah, you can clap.
Yeah, you can clap. And last but not least, we know that for professional and organizational plans, 4 modes just isn't enough for your design system. So starting today, professional plans will now have 10 modes, and organization plans will have 20 modes.
So overall, we are super, super stoked about how your design systems will evolve with these changes. But creating a nimble system requires more than just flexible building blocks. It actually requires folks to adhere to them. And that's been an obsession for the person I'd like to call to the stage next. Please give a really warm welcome to Product Manager Tara Nadella.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to get to be here with all of you today. As a PM that gets to sit at the intersection of design systems and AI, I get a front row seat to how the way we build is so rapidly changing with the pace of innovation. It's something we most certainly feel here at Figma. Every designer, every engineer, and every team is producing more artifacts and moving faster than ever before. And that momentum is thrilling, for sure. But when output outpaces understanding, that's when things can start to fall apart. When an engineer opens up a file and they can't tell whether a design system deviation is intentional or accidental, they're left guessing and chasing context. Although you and I both know that this perfectly concentric corner radius was no accident. Designers, meanwhile, are spending really precious time tidying up instead of exploring new ideas, and timelines slow. And all of this points to the same challenge. Speed without direction leads to divergence. So then the question becomes, what anchors our work? What connects our momentum with our craftsmanship? And that's why we're introducing Check Designs, our native design linter right in Figma, built to help teams move quickly while staying true to their standards. And with that, I want to show you where we're starting. All right. So I'm going to come over here. And let's say I've been exploring this for a while, and I'm feeling pretty good about where it's landed. But before I go ahead and share it with my eng partners, I want to give everything one last check. So let's figure out how we can quickly take all of our maybe magic values that we lean on when we're trying to just move quickly and turn those into proper design system variables. All right, let's give ourselves a little bit of space here. Nice. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the frame, and I'm going to mark this as ready for dev. And then I get a little nudge to check my designs. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and this modal pops up. And in just a few seconds, it scanned my frame and is giving me a few different places where I can better align this with my design system. All right, let's get oriented so we understand what we're looking at. So over here on the left, you've got our handy-dandy little navigation panel where it groups things that have similar patterns so you can go through the design in these bite-sized chunks and edit pretty quickly. And it also will group repeating elements together so that you can go one by one and apply things in detail, or you can go ahead and just select the main thumbnail in this carousel and apply in bulk. And over here in my suggestions view, you can see what I currently have on the canvas. It's offering some replacements of tokens from my design system, and then this preview is going to update live so that I can see how everything would look if I went ahead and applied these suggestions. All right, and behind the scenes, just to share how these suggestions are working, Check Designs is powered by a custom-trained ML model tuned to your own design system data. And it weighs a few key factors, things like how similar a suggested value is to what's currently on the canvas, how frequently a variable is used in the file, how recently it was used, and overall team usage across files. And the best part is it's going to get better over time. So the more your team uses it and adopts this process, the smarter and more personalized these suggestions will become. All right, So let's go through this. The first thing it's calling out is that I may have used my favorite close but never pure black, and it wants me to switch it to color secondary. Fair enough, we can do that. And here it looks like I've got some hard-coded corner radius values of 4, and it found an exact match in my design system. All right, this all looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and apply changes down here, and it's going to apply all of these to every instance here. Nice, OK. So now it seems to have found where this PM may have detached a text style, and it's giving me a quick replacement. Excellent. OK, and that looks fine, pretty similar. Excellent. And here it's calling out that I had a padding of 19, but I only have 16 and 24 in my design system, so it picked the closer match of 16. And I'm going to go ahead and accept this because I really can't be showing a value that's not divisible by 8 to a room full of designers. All right, and now we have a text contrast one. So let's go ahead and zoom in on what this is covering on. All right, so it's looking at this time badge here. And let's just pull this up so that we can see them side by side. All right, so looks like I may have used a shade I thought looked cool, but doesn't actually exist in my design system, and I can see how it actually does make this harder to read. All right, so it's giving me this color brand tertiary to replace it with, and that looks good, but let me go ahead and click on this, and here I get a flyout of all the values in my design system that have been scoped for this property. And I can see which ones are accessible, which ones don't meet that contrast requirement right at a glance. And now that I'm looking at it, this color on brand actually might be better. Oh, I like it. All right, so let's go ahead and apply these changes. All right, just like that, we made 44 changes in just a few moments. And they were pretty subtle, but it's exciting to see how a little bit of time here can save us quite a bit of downstream effort. So to recap, Check Designs today helps your Figma files stay consistent with your system and saves you from those repetitive one-by-one cleanups. And as we saw, it flags hard-coded values that can be swapped for design system variables, things like text styles, color variables, corner radius, padding, and spacing. It also checks for low-fill color contrast. And it's here to surface issues before they spread, helps designers stay in the flow, and gives engineers precise production-ready files. At its core, it's about strengthening the connection between your design vision and your engineering implementation, making sure that what's imagined in design is what actually ships. By bridging that gap, Check Designs helps designers articulate and capture more of their rationale, becoming part of that really rich context layer that can enable Figma AI and our MCP server to generate cleaner, more accurate results, reducing ambiguity in design and ensuring that every handoff, whether to a developer or an AI agent, carries the intent behind every pixel. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Paige.
Thanks, Tara. Thanks, Tara. Very nice. OK, what a great way to make sure that the details ship, but we don't have to do the dreary tedium, right? I know that Tara is already thinking about how this might evolve to include enforce more standards, even beyond doing even more with accessibility, supporting effects and style coverage. We want to hear from you about what you'd like to see. This is going into early access, so please sign up. Please give us your feedback. And when it does roll out, it'll be going out to organization and enterprise plans. We know a goal for you is better aligning design and development. Closer, closer, come on, they won't bite. No, really, this is how we get design intent all the way into production. And it's something we've been focused on for years. Design systems need code-based context. And Figma needs to pull this in and understand it. We've been working on it for a long time, but the specificity matters more than ever. When AI has specificity, you get higher quality outputs. And at the end of the day, that means quality. And we've been telling you, and you know in your hearts, that design is the differentiator. So you've really got to make sure that code and design talk. OK, so we're going to show you some stuff that we've changed for the end-to-end workflow for engineers. I'd love for you to hear from a pro today on this. Please welcome developer advocate Jake Alba to the stage.
Thank you. What's up, Schema? This is great. So many friendly faces, some I recognize. Hello, everybody watching at home and around the world. I'm Jake. I'm a developer advocate here at Figma. And advocates are practitioners that work to create value for the people that use our products. And as a software engineer, I couldn't be more excited than to be here today to talk to you about how we see design systems as a key part of modern product development, AI-enabled workflows. In my time here over the past 4 years, we have been working hard to ensure that code-based context is associated with your design systems inside of Figma. Whether this is through loosely inferred conventions like named conventions on variables and components, or more tightly bound context through features like Code Connect and variables code syntax, the impact of those efforts to stay aligned has never been greater than in AI-enabled engineering workflows. And a key part of this alignment is in ensuring that the very specific code conventions and patterns that teams have in the code base is connected to the components and variables that you have inside of Figma. This code-based context has been huge for improving developer handoff inside of dev mode, but is also crucial when we compile potent code-based context for AI tools. Now, our position in these AI workflows is really unique. Authoring code is one of the most compelling applications of AI today. LLMs are trained on vast corpuses of text, which allows them to write code exceptionally well and in many different ways. But teams need these tools to write code the way they write code. And the only way these tools can do that is if they have an awareness of the code base, which is how you write code. Agentic coding tools provide access to code bases, which enables LLMs to write code that's aligned to the code base. But this is all about code that's already been written. What about new ideas? Well, we all know that new ideas are best explored, refined, and defined on Figma's platform. Figma can provide the relevant context that AI tools need in order to author the correct implementation of those explorations. The Model Context Protocol, or MCP, is the standard that enables the delivery of this context to those tools. And Figma's MCP server is how this context can be accessed by AI tools. Today, we have a dedicated local server provided by the native app, and a remote server which extends this access to more users, as well as to other MCP clients beyond IDEs. Design systems, though, are a critical piece in making all of this magic happen. So let's see how this looks with a little bit of a demo. All right, so here we are with the latest Astra board design, and we see that designer Tom, as well as designer Tara, with the help of Check Designs, have been adopting our system for this new side panel that we're going to be implementing today. Now, when we come down here and click, we can see that the right variables have been bound to the gap and padding values. But most importantly, we can see that the code form of these variables in the form of code syntax is surfaced on the canvas. Now, this ensures that the developers that are inspecting this and their AI tools as they consume this context are seeing the relevant code base form of these tokens. Now, let's talk about components for a second. And here we can see that we have a new use case for components that's been enabled by slots. So something like a field set component can help us govern this layout and this auto layout kind of gap and padding without us having to detach and put a bunch of instances inside of that. Now, also in the side panel, we can see that Code Connect has been published to these components. Code Connect, for the past 1.5 years now, has been the best way to bring detailed, rich code-base-informed representation of this context into Figma. So we see the React forms of these fields and this field set right in line. Now, this has been great to see for developers inside of Figma so that they can make sure that they know which components are being utilized. But now this is the sort of context that we can provide AI tools via MCP. All right, so I'm going to select this annotation here to select this parent panel. And we can see that there's a component in here that hasn't been connected to the code base yet. So we're going to click Connect Components. And this is the new Code Connect library UI that we just recently released. And we can see here that this icon button has not yet been connected out of all of the other components that are in the selection. When I click on this gear here, we can see that we've actually authenticated GitHub to access the repository that has the definition of all of our components, which means that Figma can actually intelligently suggest the right file and the right component inside of that file. There can be more than one. And we can connect this in just a few clicks directly from the code base. Now, once this connection is made, we can come through to this details view, and Figma is able to intelligently generate code-based snippets based on that file's context. So we're going to see here that we have an icon button representation in React. Now, this is using some of that code definition, but also is using Figma's metadata about these properties to kind of put together this snippet. Now, I know a lot of teams end up, I'm going to select this text node here. A lot of teams have very custom, specific shapes of their configuration for their components and their component APIs. And so to bring that context in, we actually have the ability to paste in rules. So in this case, I'm going to indicate to Figma that I want that icon to not be a slot property, but our team uses the composed syntax with the instance as a descendant of the parent icon button. And we can also provide instructions about how to be specific about the ARIA label when we're describing the action. Now, in addition to this, we can come in here and click Change Properties in the Component Inspector in the playground here. And I could switch this over to primary, and those instructions are going to be critical in Figma being able to generate the right representation. Now, this is really exciting. I'm so stoked that this is a feature now. This is just an example of how we're making this easier for teams to bring into Figma, especially for components like this. All right. Now we know that we've fully connected all of our components here. We know that our variables are bound, and that this panel that we're going to implement today is ready for the code base. Before we switch over, I'm going to call out here that we're going to be running the MCP server locally using the native app. In this settings panel, here's the indicator that we've enabled it. And we also have some options for how we want to serve images, sometimes using placeholders inside of Figma, and so you don't really care about that image data. Sometimes those are media assets. We have the ability to kind of indicate to the server how we want to handle content like that. In addition to that, Figma is able to anticipate roughly how many tokens, which you can almost think of as a character count for LLMs, are going to be required in order to convey this panel to the AI tools that we're going to implement this with in a second. All right. So before we hit the code base, we're going to stop in the browser, and we can see that our Astra board, we've already developed the left 2/3 of this, right? Now, this is using real data behind the scenes. So when we click on these different shots, content is updating. So when we implement this right-hand side panel, we want to make sure that we're actually interacting with the data model. We don't want to just represent statically these components. Now, how many dark mode fans do we have out there? Dark mode? All right. It's a handful. Dozens of us. OK. So we're going to switch over to dark mode. Now, this might seem not that big of a deal to a lot of you, but actually for engineers, when you're trying to convert a design to code, when you're trying to match hex codes, there's this, you have to switch to the thing that the design's in and all of this. But because we're using systems, because everything's hooked up, we can actually keep our appearance preferences on our machine while simultaneously implementing the light mode of this. It's really exciting. OK. We're going to switch over to VS Code here. I'm going to be using GitHub Copilot with VS Code. And I've already preceded a prompt that says, implement my Figma selection in these 2 files. Be sure to use my design system. So we have the React file right here for the React code, and then a CSS file right here where we're going to want to see those tokens showing up for auto layout and stuff like that. Now, because we're working with AI tools, I've indicated to the tool that, hey, I'm going to be doing a demo at Schema, and we want to show all of the features of the MCP server. Now, your developers are going to be the experts in knowing which combination of these tools, or you can think of them as endpoints, based on whatever task they're doing. The tools that we're calling out right now, and later today in the deep dive, I'm going to get into the contents of all of these if you're interested. We have get metadata, which returns a high-level skeleton, allowing the agent to understand at a high level what's going on, and then optionally make further requests to dig in and get more details. We have get screenshot, which returns image data, and we can see that's going to come back as light mode image data because right now Figma is in live mode. Then we have Code Connect Map, which returns all of that React context that we were talking about. Variable defs returns the variables that are relevant in the file, just the names that you need to know to make sure you're using the right ones. In addition to the text styles that we're using, all of this information is critical because your engineers can write rules in the code base for how to interpret this stuff and how to implement it properly. And then last but not least, there's Get Design Context, which puts all of that together, including those annotations. It preserves the annotation categories, so if your product designers want to add additional context for LLMs, they can. Now, Figma's job has been done for a while. These checks have been green for a bit, and we can see that Copilot has finished implementing this. Before we actually look at the code, if you've used these tools before, you will commonly see them searching the code base, wildcard searches, trying to find the right components, making sure it's using the right things in the right way. But because Figma is able to say, these are the pieces that are relevant, here's where they're located, we don't see any of that. We are literally eliminating search steps, alleviating Copilot of this need to do all of that discovery. This increases the efficiency, it reduces the LLM costs that we have, and it also ensures that we can have more confidence in these outcomes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit keep here, and we can see that the right React components have been brought in. We also see, here's our field set, and this is using real data. We can already indicate some of that right here. And then in the CSS, we see that we're using the right variables with the right syntax and everything here. All right, hold your breath. Oh, would you look at that? So, this is so cool. Like, this is the future. Now, this is mapped to this is actually modifying our data model under the hood. Right? So every time we change these shots, it's actually updating to the settings that we have in the database. Big cheers for all the teams that have been working hard on this. DevTools, MCP, Code Connect. We've been working on this for a while. All right. So because we've aligned our design system between Figma and the code base, that's the work we've been doing forever, right? And because we've provided code-based context for Figma to deliver strategically to LLMs, we're in a position where our engineers can deeply benefit. Design systems don't only increase the quality of our output, they save us time and compute, which increases our confidence in these tools for production UI generation. So many partners have eagerly supported us as we've gotten our MCP server to this point, and we're so grateful to have the opportunity to work so closely with them as we actively improve our tools together to further the future of product development. All right, Paige, back to you.
Thank you, Jake. Sweet. Woo! Code Connect. We're changing it. We're making it better. I'm so excited that now you've got better component mapping with those suggestions. You've also got MCP instructions and those code snippet previews to make your code gen higher quality. These things are just really going to help improve the precision of AI so that your teams can pay less for it and obviously ship a better product. This is all coming to organization and enterprise plans this week. Okay, you also heard about MCP. We're taking that out of beta to GA. We are working on it quite a bit still, so please give us your feedback about what you need, what you like, what you want to see more of. Okay, so what we just talked about was bringing that design context into the places where developers are working, straight into their coding environments. But what about everyone else? Design systems could meet so many more members of your team where they're already working. Design systems need to be built for the whole team, woven into the tools they already use. Your PMs, your researchers, everyone you partner with to shape the product needs the same context to build it right. Earlier this year at Config, we launched Figma Make. It's a tool that helps you create a prototype. You just describe your idea, boom, prototype. You can maybe persuade someone with it. You can test it with customers. It was a great start, but we're not going to stop with a generic prompt-to-app experience, because good enough is not good enough. Craft is the differentiator, and you need something that's professional grade. That's why we're focused on how your teams actually design, how they actually build. And we've been focusing on a few things since. One of those things is capitalizing on the multiplayer goodness and the precision you expect from Figma design. Now you can copy and make straight into Figma design, see your design layers, and riff and revise with your team. We also are making it so that you can ship to production. We are connecting makes now with the MCP server you just heard about coming to GA, and also with dev tools like GitHub. And of course, we're making sure it talks to your design systems. You need higher quality, more predictable outputs that actually use your design system's building blocks. So let's talk about that. This is just one of the AI features that needs to use your design system. We're excited to share progress against how makes leverage your design system. And to do that, I want to introduce product designer Ethan Ma to the stage.
Hello, Schema. I'm Ethan. I'm one of the product designers here working on design systems here today at Figma. I'm very, very excited to be sharing some updates with you today. So when we launched Make a Config, the #1 thing that you all asked for was the ability to import your design systems. Our first attempt focused on bringing visual details from your libraries, such as color, typography, and spacing. So generation started looking like your design system. But it didn't quite feel like your product. So how do we solve that? When you asked us to bring your design system into Make, we realized you were actually asking us for several different things. So for some teams, it's to bring the full fidelity and nuance of your Figma design libraries into Make. For others, bringing a design system means directly consuming your production components in Make. And sometimes it's actually a bit of both. Today, I'm excited to share some updates. We want to enable you to bring in your design systems no matter where they are, either in Figma design libraries or in code. So I want to talk a bit about the first feature that we're launching, which is something that we call Make Kits. Make Kits is a new way for you to export your libraries in Figma design and convert them to React components. Let's go ahead and see the demo. So here we have a library of an existing design system, and we have a couple of components, such as selectors, buttons, avatars, that are essentially just the accumulation of this Astra video player. And so we want to use these components in Make. How do we do that? Here, in Quick Actions, we see an option to export a library to Figma Make. And so what this will do is it'll take the design system and turn it into React code components and CSS files. So let's go ahead and export this library. But because it's going to take a few minutes, I did it ahead of time. So let's just jump into Make and check it out. So the first thing that you'll notice is a view we're calling the Component Showcase, which is an overview of the components that we've generated for you. By default, Make will do its best to preserve the visual fidelity of your design system as it converts it to code. So if you want interactivity to these components, you can create it by prompting. As you can see, I've done a bunch of manual work here. So for example, I can type into this prompt box. I can have the search component animate with a typewriter effect, or I can make my video controls interactive, which I think is pretty cool. So now let's add in an interaction together. I'm going to click into this button component and view all the imported variants. If I hover over the button, there's no change to the cursor. So let's change the cursor to a pointer on hover. Make will generate that interaction, and I'm just going to pray that the conference Wi-Fi holds up. And so while we watch that go, let's talk a little bit about this new screen. We designed it with a split view to show both the component preview as well as the working code side by side. we've also added a small tag as a filter, so Make knows to only make changes to this component. So now that we've prompted the interaction and it's finished rendering, let's test our interaction, and it's looking pretty good. All right, so we've run through the design system, and it looks pretty good to me. Let's go ahead and update this and publish it to the team so it's available for everybody from my team to use. So we're going to let it publish, and it's finished. And now that we've made the update, let's try it out. So remember when we were trying to create UI for this video player? Let's try making an interactive prototype for this. So I'm going to copy this frame, come into Make, select the Make kit that I just published so that generations will use the component interactions that we just made together. I'm going to recreate this screen that I attached. And what this should do is it'll turn our example screen into the interactive prototype that I want. We're just going to let Make keep going and going, but all right, and now it's done. So Make is going to take a few minutes. So because we have a lot to demo, I'm just going to jump to an output that I prompted ahead of time. And so here we have our final prototype built with our Make kit. Components used in this generation come with the interactivity that we saw earlier. So for example, typing help me make this video, adding in an attachment, as well as submitting a prompt are all interactions that now come with the input box. I can also extend my design system components to work with other elements on the screen. So if you remember my video control component, I've wired it up to work with the editing tools below. And that's the demo. We've now unlocked the ability to not only use your design systems to Make, but also build on top of it. And it'll be as easier as ever to accelerate the way that you build products. We're still in active development for Make kits. Building design systems is incredibly complex in nature, and we still have a little bit to iron out. But today, you can sign up if you're interested in early access, and we plan to open up this feature to some customers later this year. So earlier, I talked about the fact that we want to enable you to bring in your design systems no matter where they are, either in Figma Design or from code. Make Kits gives you the ability to bring in design systems from Figma Design. Now, let's take a look at how you can bring in your design systems from code. I'm excited to announce that we're also introducing the ability to directly import NPM packages into Figma Make. Yeah, pretty cool. And so this means that you can bring your production code right into Figma Make using either public or private NPM packages. Personally, I'm excited for the ability to bring in production-ready React components into Make, because I can take advantage of all the fine-tuning and interactions that I've already built. The ability to import public NPM packages will be available on all plans, and private NPM imports will be available on Pro Plus. This will be available starting next month. All right, back to you, Paige.
Thank you, Ethan. I can't wait to see what you all make with Make. OK, right about now, you might be wondering, when are we going to bring prompting straight into Figma Design? Don't worry, it's coming. We actually already launched a limited alpha a couple weeks ago to explore how this works and to make sure that we get it right. And of course, the biggest burning question is, when will it work with my design systems? We're working on it. We've got styles and components working. Next is variables. So please stay tuned. We're doing it. OK, now seems like a great time for a recap. So let's play it all back. This week, you're going to get more variable modes, all those changes to Code Connect, the new suggestions, MCP instructions, the code snippets, and you're going to get MCP server in GA. Next month, you're going to get extended collections, variables import and export, and all of those authoring improvements you saw. You'll also get NPM packages, both private and public. Now, this list might be thrilling, and you might be like, hell yeah, I got everything I wanted. And you might also be thinking, am I getting a little? And so please tell us what you need. Tell us what you're looking for, because we are all in on design systems, and we are all ears. Truly, the team is here. Talk to them. Tweet at them. Like, we are building. This is very much a focus for us. So thank you so much for joining us, for getting excited about what's shipping this week and next month, and for signing up for what's on early access, because we've got check designs, slots, and make kits coming to early access. There are going to be stations outside where you can sign up and talk to the people behind these solutions. Later today, there are going to be deep dives where you can learn more about MCP, Code Connect, and extended collections and slots in the next level of detail so that you can really apply them. OK. Design systems have always been about scaling craft. From the Swiss grid, which changed how we consume and read information, to Apple's human interface guidelines, to frameworks like to frameworks like material design and Bootstrap. These design systems and every generation of design systems has changed how we build our products, elevated them, and really scaled them so that people can touch every day something that's a little bit better, something that's a little bit tighter. But with AI, design systems are so much more than that. They are the way we make sure that as more people build, quality doesn't just hold, it rises. Design systems are expanding. Their role is changing. They are going to be the context by which your whole brand unfolds and is experienced. And they are the context by which your team is going to be able to differentiate and ship better products faster. This is the future. And it's clear that the future of building is bright. Thank you so much for being with us today. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back at 11. Thanks, folks.